So in the 80s, when you were saying FIU football, you usually followed by April Fools. When I came back to work here as alumni director, I always would tell President Mehdi, listen, it's great to have a big basketball program, that's great. Good to be good in baseball, that's great. Florida is a football state. He was against it. So what happened was there was a big game in the mid-90s between FSU, those classic FSU Miami games, the wide right, right left games. And in one of those games, our former coach, Butch Davis, was a coach at UM. And I decided to hire a company that flies airplanes around the Orange Bowl. So I got this plane to fly over, and it said FIU football, still undefeated. Because obviously we were undefeated, we didn't have football. So that plane flew for 2 hours around the last hour of tailgating, first hour, the first quarter of that game, which was on ABC Sports. Yeah. The follow-up to that, we had over 700 calls on people calling the university about what was that plane about, because there were so many FIU folks, either students, alumni, or general people that were interested in the university at that Orange Bowl game between FSU and UM, that they called us to find out what that was all about. That was a spark that created a, hey, wow, I guess FIU football would be a thing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tranquilo Sports Talk. We are here live from the first game at Pitbull Stadium. We are being hosted by the FIU Alumni Association at one of their chill zones. They host these tailgates every single time, so if you're an alumni, come check them out. They put this together every time. Food, drinks, everything, and some AC because it's hot as hell outside.
The AC's nice.
So it's a nice little getaway from all the tailgating that's happening. So I kind of want to start there, Dre. There's a lot more people here, it feels like, than you know, the last couple of years in terms of like a lot of tailgating, a lot of students are out, a lot of hype built with the Pitbull Stadium. So I'm hoping that I'm hoping all these people coming to the game. But what do you think about so far about the turnout around here so far?
No, I mean, you could tell, like you said, the energy is extremely high here. People are excited, which is nice. Yeah. You know, I think people are rallying around the energy of the Pitbull thing. Yeah. You have Dale in the end zone right now.
Those are sick, by the way.
Which is sick. I love that they did that.
College game day,
yep.
ESPN, Barstool, everything. Everybody's covering the stadium. So it's a big one that we definitely need to take advantage of and win this game.
That's really the big thing. It's about really taking advantage of the moment, right? Mm-hmm. Getting the people here. I think they're doing a good job of that. Yeah. Now we get to the football part of it, and now the team's got to show up and show out and prove to the people that they belong, you know?
100%.
Coming off of Indiana last week, and you saw what actually Indiana did today.
Bad beat, but
right?
Yes,
it was
100%,
a bad beat, but you feel a little optimistic about things, right?
Yeah, because one of the things that the biggest takeaway from week one was that I thought the defense was much improved. You know, the first half kind of like
they found their groove. They found their groove.
For the second half and beyond, outside of the one long touchdown, they really were in that groove and they look much improved. And we're applying a lot of pressure, which is important.
Yeah.
So, and then you look, like you mentioned, Indiana goes out, puts 77 on somebody, and you're like, all right, we contained, for the most part, a really good team. So
Absolutely.
now we're facing Central Michigan at home, and this is the game that, like, if you want to continue to build some momentum, like, this is one you got to get. Like, I know we're underdogs, where I think right now it's moved around a lot. It's gone down to 3.
Really?
Which is, Vegas.
Oh, wow.
Vegas is sensing something, but
I like that.
we got it at 5 on our locks, but it was 5. It got to 6.5. Now it's a 3.
I did see it at 6.5.
So I think the biggest key today is, we kind of saw a little bit of what the defense can do.
Right.
Now we need to see what the offense can do. We need Keon to
100%.
get some more time, and you're hoping like our O-line can fare better against a Central Michigan than
Right.
an Indiana. So. I expect some pretty good things, but what do you think going into today?
I agree on the Keon and the offensive line situation, but more than anything, where we've seen FIU do well in the past is with the running game.
100%, yes.
That's something, and it's only going to make Keon's life that much easier.
Yeah.
Anybody that's a quarterback, it's only going to make their life easier. You got to be able to establish the run game. That's something that I would like to see today. Get the backs going, open those holes, allow the running game to exist in this offense. If you don't have the running game, Keon's going to be forced to do too much, and I think he'll struggle.
Yeah, and the thing is, we've got 3 really good backs. We've got Owens, we've got Lawrence, and we've got Flex Joseph. So you've got to get all of them active, but like one guy, like, that's the thing, like they're enough of playmakers that they will make it easier for the rest of the offense if we can get them going.
Yeah.
But it starts with that O-line. So the O-line's really gonna, hopefully kind of has another game under their belt, and they can use that to, game plan around it, because getting them involved too.
On the offensive line, are we repeating a lot of guys from last year, or is it a lot of new faces on the line right now?
I think of the 5 starters, if I'm not mistaken, I think 4 of them are from last year.
Okay.
So the biggest key for them was
there's chemistry there.
Chemistry.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of snaps on the belt. Now they've just got to, start gelling a bit more, because that first game, like, Keon had no time. Our running backs didn't have any holes to fill.
No.
So,
and then you're playing down, so you're going to be forced to throw the ball, right?
Exactly.
The other thing, too, that I think is big, we lost some big receivers last year.
Yes.
Right?
We need someone to step up.
And the big question really is going to become, who is going to be that guy? Like, when Keon needs to find a target, 3rd and 7 in the 4th quarter on a big drive, who is going to be that guy? We really don't know. I mean, obviously it's only week 2, but I'm hoping that we can maybe establish something there, right? We haven't seen it. Is it more of like in the tight end position? Is it throwing to the running backs, or is it finding that one receiver that we can rely on? We don't really know who that guy is yet.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, Chris Mitchell's now in Notre Dame.
Right.
Obviously, Tyrese a couple years ago goes to Maryland.
Yep.
So we haven't had this guy. We have Dean Patterson, who's been here a few years, but it's time for him, if he wants to make that step up to wide receiver 1. Like, it's time to start getting going. And then Eric Rivers is kind of who I thought might be able to take that lead. We didn't get to see too much from week 1.
Right.
So hopefully we can get him more involved and see if we can get that guy, because it's so important. I mean, Chris Mitchell for us last year won his games almost single-handedly.
Right.
So 100%. I totally agree. And yeah, I mean, Central Michigan's coming off a pretty big win. They played a small opponent, but they kind of blew them out. So. Besides that, to be honest, I don't know too much about Central Michigan.
I don't know much about them. No.
On paper, in my mind, compared to an Indiana, it should be more on level.
I mean, the spread will tell you that. I don't know how much of the home game factor takes a role into that spread.
Honestly, with the crowd around,
maybe
I can see this being a pretty good turnout. So
I mean, the crowd will be in it early,
hopefully,
and then and then you hope that the game's a good enough game that the crowd stays in it. They stay for 4 quarters, and then obviously witness a W. But reality is, we have to control what we can control, right? Especially as we're still evolving as a team. What you don't want to see is stupid penalties. We saw some drops in the first game.
Composure.
And there were some momentum kind of shifting things, right? I mean, we were down majority of the game versus Indiana, but you look at some plays that happened, right? Some penalties that kind of killed a drive, right? On defense, same thing. Some bad penalties that kind of extended drives, right?
Sure.
So to beat these teams, you got to play a clean game too.
Play a clean game, I
think Mac will have them ready to roll.
I hope so, man. We like we've mentioned already, like we have so much attention on just the stadium alone. That like the next part is you got to produce wins, and when you're playing in front of a crowd that I expect to be bigger today than in years past,
It's gonna. I'm expecting it to break a record of recent history.
Recent history,
not of all time. But of recent.
We need to get
history.
back to the TY days because the cage was sold out.
But this is how you start that. Right here, right now.
And it's winning games like this.
100%.
Winning games like this because you can win games like this. You build momentum going to the Shula Bowl next week, which FAU
just came off a loss against Army. Yeah,
looking beatable.
Offense cannot produce.
Yeah, so I think this is a game that I think could really set the season in a certain path. Yeah. Because you lose this game, you know, you're on a kind of a downward trajectory going to FAU, and so anything can happen there. So if this game could be a really big pivot, a vital point to. I know it's early, but like these are the ones that you got to get, and then hopefully the people here see a great game, they see a win, and guess what? They want to come back the next time. That's how you build it. Yeah. So there's only so much hype that the administration already done. Scott Carr and the team getting Pitbull already. The noise is there. Yeah. Now it's the team's job to keep filling the seats. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what's your projections for tonight?
All right. That's good one. I've got a bit of a little high scoring-ish game. I've got 35-24 FIU. Wow. I think we win by double digits.
See, I'm kind of expecting a little bit of the opposite.
Oh, okay.
I think the defense will rally off of how they played last week. I think the offense will be better than last week. I still think there's going to be some growing pains with this offense, but I think they're going to get enough done. And the reason why I was asking you about our kicker.
Oh yeah. Game-winning.
It's going to be a 2020 game-winning drive, and we win 23-20.
All right, I like that. I like that. Well,
it's going to be a nail biter.
I'll take either one. All right. Honestly, that one would fare well for like type of crazy game that students can kind of rally around. So as long as we're on the winning side, anything goes. So
absolutely. Let's get a W today.
We got a W.
I think you can see here. Obviously, it's packed up in here, and we're gonna get some FIU Papa Panther. Maybe
we're gonna get a Papa Panther appearance when he gets here. So stay tuned, and for you it'll be 1 second. So all right, we are back, still here at the alumni tailgate, and just to let you know that they're gonna be hosting a huge tailgate for next week at FAU. So if you've got any FIU alumni in the area or anyone's from Miami that wants to drive up, the Alumni Association is going to be doing a huge tailgate for the big return of the Tranquilo Bowl. So hope to see you guys there, and hope to see you guys the whole season. Like this is going to be here again, like I mentioned, like this is going to be here every home game. So come on by, food, drinks, alumni, things like that, and get ready for the game. So hope to see you guys here, and without further ado, Long time coming.
Long overdue.
Papa Panther finally on the pod.
Pause up.
It's only right to get in week 1 of Pitbull Stadium and week 1 in person on campus. Mr. Papa Panther, my dad, Eddie Hondal.
Great to be here, guys.
They were saying Mr. 305 was Pitbull, but it was always you.
Oh, really? Yeah. He's Mr. 305. I'm Mr. FIU.
Yeah.
So let's get our title straight. So definitely glad to be here, man. It is a great event. Obviously, what I love about FIU football and being involved with everything we do is that in other programs, you're really pretty much another brick on the wall, where here it was all started by us. I'm a little older, but the second generation are you two. And this is how you build things. And when you look back at everything that's big, it was built by someone. That's what we are doing here. Absolutely. You can see it by the energy in this room. The energy outside is really intense. It's packed. And if we win today, Miami's about events. Yeah. It becomes an event. Yep. Everyone starts to come to these games. And we've got the numbers on our side. 300,000+ alumni, 90% of them in the Tri-County area. If this becomes an event, you'll see scalpers trying to get tickets to get into the stadium. And we've arrived when you got scalpers at Pitbull Stadium.
Tell them about the story, that time it did happen. It has happened in the past.
When back in the early 2000s, when Mario Cristobal was our coach, we played UCF in a big game here. Actually beat them, and this stadium was slammed. We were tailgating all day. When we're walking in, guys are going, I need 2. And when I saw that, I said, they are scalping for an FIU UCF game. And not only was the stadium packed, we won. So the energy was phenomenal. Yeah. So that's what we need.
That's what we need to get to.
Yeah. Against Central Michigan. So beat Central Michigan right here.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on today?
Listen, I was in Indiana last week.
That's right.
Offense wasn't good. They need to open up the playbook for Jenkins. However, and David and I talked about this. Despite the score, the defense showed me something.
Yep.
We officially had 2 sacks.
Yeah,
we should have 5. We had them down.
Oh my God.
We had them down 3 other times. He escaped. We should have 5 sacks. None of the rushers had over 100 yards. We played a good defensive game. We just gave up scores early on.
Yeah.
We held them to 3 points in the second half.
Yep.
If they do that against a real Big Ten, big line that we saw, and they start playing other G5 programs, and they play to their capacity, and they open up the playbook, we should win this game. We should win this game. I know that Central Michigan is favored by 4.5, I hear.
The line's
kind of
moved.
fluctuated,
Yeah,
but
it's
yeah,
moved.
yeah.
It was like 5.5, and now it's like
if we come
4.
in with this crowd, the energy, etc., we'll win this game. And when you have a collaboration with Pitbull and you have all this energy, that's great.
Yeah.
You got to win.
Yep. Yeah.
Like that, it creates momentum for the rest of the season.
100%. The thing that we were talking about before as well was it looked like the offensive line struggled a little bit last week. Keon didn't have any pressure.
Agreed.
I mean, had too much pressure. The running game, which we think has to evolve for Keon to be better.
Right.
But we didn't see that last week. Do you think today we might see an evolution of the offensive line?
What I'm hoping is the end of the second half where we had the series that we scored.
Yeah.
If you look at that, it was been a 2-minute offense.
Yeah.
And Indiana couldn't adjust. So we were running and passing, scored, but then we stopped.
Yeah.
In the second half when we were getting the ball back.
Yeah.
At that point it was 21-7.
Yeah, we had a chance to
you
make
get
it
a ball back and you run the same thing that had them on their heels.
Yep.
And at least a field goal or a score, it's a brand new game.
Exactly.
We went back to what we were doing before and got stopped.
Yeah.
So if we got to be innovative. You got to be innovative and give Keon. You need to give Keon some time.
Yeah.
And he'll create things. He's a creator. So we need to give him opportunities to create. So,
Yeah. Well, obviously we want to talk about this game, but we want to give you the chance to talk a little bit about FIU history and how, obviously we know the stories. I grew up with FIU, obviously. I'm like the first ever born FIU fan. But for our listeners out there, take us down a little trip down memory lane of how you're one of the people to help start this program. And it really started with that flyover. I want to start there because that's really what started this whole thing. You are the godfather because of that. So take it away.
So basically, go a little further. I was a student here during the 80s. And FIU, give you a perspective. The folks across town at University of Miami, they have like 15,000 students. Back in the 80s, we had 15,000 students. Now FIU has 58,000. So the growth of this university is unprecedented, right? So in the 80s, when you were saying FIU football, you usually followed by April Fools. It was not even a reality. It wasn't a thought process, etc. When I came back to work here as alumni director, I always would tell President Mehdi, listen, it's great to have a big basketball program, that's great. Good to be good in baseball, that's great. Florida is a football state. So we have to be contemplating that we need to start football. He was against it. Miami, despite their success, had an issue on campus with players. They got that reputation of thug you, and the faculty here was a little bit afraid of that issue. So what happened was there was a big game in the mid-90s between FSU, those classic FSU Miami games, the wide right left games, and in one of those games, our former coach, Butch Davis, was a coach at UM, and I decided to hire a company that flies airplanes around the Orange Bowl, and I decided, well, I can't pay for that because I get in trouble. So I called one of my wealthy alums there. Well, listen, would you pay for a 2-hour flyover around the Orange Bowl that would say a message about FIU football? He goes, we're starting football? He goes, not just yet, but I want to send a message. So I got this plane to fly over, and it said FIU football, still undefeated. Because obviously we're undefeated, we have football. So that plane flew for 2 hours around the last hour of tailgating, first hour of the first quarter of that game, which was on ABC Sports. The follow-up to that, we had over 700 calls on people calling the university about what was that plane about, because there were so many FIU folks, either students, alumni, or general people that were interested in the university at that Orange Bowl game between FSU and UM, that they called us to find out what that was all about. That was a spark that created hey, wow, I guess FIU football would be a thing. And soon after that, they created the FIU football committee, which I was a part of. 2 years later, we hired Don Strock as our first coach. We go to Tallahassee. We went to the Board of Regents. We had it approved. and we signed our first player that day, a guy named David Tabor, which in the history books is the first ever FIU Panther football player.
Yeah.
And I was a part of all that.
I did not know that story.
Dude, yeah,
When we got approved,
crazy.
when we got approved,
that's why when I say like he literally like started.
Oh
the
yeah,
football
I knew he did that. I didn't know he did that.
when we got approved after the yes, I told Don Strock, what now? He goes, oh, I'm going to go sign a guy down the street who was playing high school quarterback in a Tallahassee high school. Goes, sure. He goes, yeah. He went into a McDonald's, took off his suit, put on a polo shirt that said FIU football.
Holy
we
cow.
went to the school, signed the kid,
Boom.
and we had our first
And
player.
the rest is history.
Yeah, see that? in a podcast, see? More Panthers.
Look at that.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Andre, nice to meet you.
More Panthers on board. There's a podcast. You're part of a
We're recording
podcast.
right now.
Yeah. I'll be.
Yeah, we're live on.
Papa Panther in the house.
But that,
See?
Yeah.
It's real.
it's true.
That
There
is
you go.
real.
He's
Right,
actually
right
a
in the
celebrity.
moment.
It's
Like,
real.
he is a celebrity, and like he is the most well-known person in this campus
Pause
every
up.
time he steps on. One last thing on that story.
Okay.
Who is one of the guys who's one of the first donors that Strock helped land? Obviously, big name.
Oh, my God, memories. I still get chills. My all-time favorite Dolphin player is Dan Marino. Don Strock, our first coach, very, very close to Dan. So he knew I was a mega Dan Marino fan. So Dan Marino, I created a thing called Football Founders, which were donors that get X number of dollars for FIU football. Obviously, with Don Strock, Dan Marino became an FIU Football Founder.
Yeah.
He came on campus. Back then, we didn't even have the field house. We had trailers for our coach. So my office is on the other side of campus. Don's secretary calls me, hey, Don wants to see you. I walk into the trailer, everyone's kind of smiling. I walk into Don's office, and Dan Marino's sitting in the office.
Wow.
And I'm like stuttering. You can tell I had no problem talking. I had problems talking at that moment. I sat down with Don Strock and Dan Marino and talked football, Miami Dolphin football, for 2 hours.
Wow.
And he just answered all my dream questions.
Because what year was that?
So we started
Late
football in
90s.
2002, so that was 99,
So
2000, 2001.
Marino at that point
He had
was
retired. He had
just retired, right?
So he had just retired. He was still the
Yeah,
GOAT
you're
in
fresh
Miami.
out of it.
You know, when you look at Miami sports, it's Dwayne Wade and Marino. You know, when you look at who is the
icons.
the icons.
And
of
Sasha
Miami.
Barkov now.
The what?
And
And
Sasha
Barkov, you got now, right?
True.
So, so I got to talk to Dan Marino. Met him. He came to some games. He's a fan. So and I got to meet him. It was a dream come true.
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we want to kind of give love to the Alumni Association that's putting this all together. You obviously have been a big part of everything that involves alumni.
Right.
What's a message that you want to leave to alumni our age and future alumni to come with everything that's going on?
Well, I go back to, I've done a lot of roles here at FIU. I'm now just a booster, right, which is important, but I used to be the alumni director here. And when I was the alumni director here, there was really a minimal office for alumni affairs. When they hired me as alumni director, it was me and my secretary, that was it. Now the alumni staff is almost 30 people. So it's a full working office, and what's important about what we do in alumni affairs at any university, but particularly here, is that we're building that foundation we talked about earlier. We talk about building a foundation of success for future generations. You want your kids that when they grow up and goes, oh, Dad, you went to FIU, your mom and dad went to FIU. They're now the second, third generation of Panthers.
Right.
You're hoping that we look back at, oh, you had trouble fitting the stadium? And now it's full all the time. There's a second deck on that stadium, which, by the way, that stadium is built to have a second deck.
Right, yeah, they've been
What
wanting
I've always
to do
said, have trouble filling the first part. When that's filled, start thinking about building a second deck. Well, you want to get to that point, and you need alumni to be a part of that. Because it doesn't happen without money, right? So any business or any entity needs money for funding. And you need that to build that. And that's what I ask alumni to come back. Whether you get $5 a year or $50,000 a year, doesn't matter. Every bit helps.
Yeah.
And that's how you build tradition, and that's how you build success. But by the way, and you got to win.
Yeah.
So
No,
as much as
that's
we
where
love
it
all
begins.
this,
Especially
you gotta
a town like Miami. We've seen it even with the Miami Heat, the Miami Marlins. The Dolphins kind of like are a little bit immune to it, but it still does happen to them. But you see it. Stadiums will go empty when they're not winning. We saw it with the Heat after they won the 06 finals.
Remember?
They had actually won a championship and fell apart, and they were giving away
the
tickets.
Marlins,
And then the Marlins, it happens too. So
by the way,
you got to
the
win.
folks across town, they've won their natties,
Right.
And then they have lean years
Exactly,
where they
true.
can't get 10,000 people in Hard Rock.
Exactly.
You know?
So I want to get into that. What's your message to UCG and
Well, my message to UCG.
and the fake fans out there?
Well, my message to UCG for those that went to FIU is come to the light.
Leave the dark side.
If you're Pooch, go to UM games. You went to school there. I love his passion. He should be like that.
Yeah.
If you're an FIU grad and you never went there, you need to be here. Now, you want to go there on a day
Like
when
Oski Vila.
Huh?
Like Oski Vila.
Yeah, I mean, let's not talk about what happened when he took a summer course here. That's another story. Oski. But if you came here, support the school that did something for you. You know, obviously I'm big here. I'm big about FIU and bullish about FIU. My undergrad and my graduate work was done here. I met my wife here. My professional network of community professionals in many walks of life were met here. So they've made an impact on my life. So if I'm going to help anyone, my time, tears, and treasure are going to come back to the alma mater that did everything for me.
Absolutely.
You should come back. Again, we're not playing and you grew up with them, go see them too. Yeah. But I'm saying, while we're playing, come to a school that gave you your diploma.
Oh, yeah. Well, with that being said, last thing, give us your score prediction for today.
Oh my God, I don't want to jinx the team. I never give predictions on game day.
Okay. All right. Don't do it then.
No, I'm saying it. Can we do after? You can videotape me afterwards. I'll give you my prediction after we win.
Yeah, that works. But you're projecting a W at least.
Oh yes, I'm projecting a W. Pause off.
All right.
No. Thank you, obviously, Pops. Thank you for coming on.
Love you.
It's been long overdue. You'll come back on for sure.
I will.
You've got a million stories.
I'll be here. I'll be here when we were playing when we're in the playoffs.
Yeah,
college football playoff as a G5 representative. After we go 11-1.
100%.
We're the only loss in Indiana.
We're playing 5 Miami.
We're in the Orange Bowl. That should be fun.
That would be crazy.
They need to increase security.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up for today, I think. Thank you for tuning in. This was awesome. Again, shout out to the FIU Alumni Association. If you're an alumni, come out, check out some of these tailgates. Check out all the different things that they do for the school and just look into it. They're here for you, and they're willing for any network opportunities, not just sporting events, for everything. So come check them out. And thank you for listening to this. Like, subscribe, comment, everything. Go to FIU games and pause up.
Pause up. Go FIU.